That girl Henny, y'all gotta go to her channel.
The girl Henny, do you know who she is?
She a blogger or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, where did this lady come from?
Been on your ass.
She on your life, G.
Shout out to Henny over there.
What's poppin', everybody? Welcome back to the bar. It's your girl Henny, and I'm about to pour plenty of the hot Henny that y'all love to sip on. So if you are new here, welcome. Please be sure to like, comment, and of course, subscribe. Click that notification bell, select all so that you get notified whenever I do a video. And if you are a returning Mob Down Henny gang member, oh, it didn't. It was all late. Yeah. Now let's get into this content. So, of course, I did not share this to my IG, which means that I have to go and share it to my IG. But what we are talking about today is a controversial topic that has been on everybody's I don't want to say on everybody's mind, because there's some people that are just not interested in this topic, and then there's those who are. And so what people in the sector, I could say in this sector, have been curious of is the fact that there's been talks about third-party cooperations being done by Big Meech using Tammy Cohen's to do so, and people who are saying that that is not what happened. And it's a lot of debate that's been going on. And now we enter into a new person who people are flocking to, because this person seems to bring a different perspective to things. And this gentleman is saying that a third-party cooperation, this, that, and the third, it's not real. Whatever he said, I didn't even watch the whole thing. I'm not even going to lie to y'all. I'm just hearing about it. But we will review his content as well. So, and it's no shade, but this young lady goes by the name of Colitha Bush. This young lady was married to an informant, and they had a network of informants, and they were running a third-party cooperation firm. Yep, they were running a third-party cooperation firm, and they, listen, I'm not even gonna talk on it. I'm gonna let her speak on it. So yes, I will be interrupting and giving my 1-2 spin. Yes, your comments will be going up on the screen, but I felt like this was something that needed to be brought to the stage, brought to the light. Now, before people, well, Henny, why wasn't you there? Henny was sleeping, so Henny missed this opportunity to be able to interview this young lady. But tonight we're going to get into it. Shout out to the YouTube streets. Shout out to Dogface, Juice, and Boogie, who did the interviewing of Colitha. But without further ado, let's get into this.
Excuse me. It's a very articulate, well-spoken, well-rounded, informative young woman. She has a wealth of knowledge about things that you wouldn't think she knows anything about. One of the reasons why she is, I'm going to say, in the whole land, in the land of urban street shit, in the land of gangster shit, in the land of the culture, of Black culture, this young woman is one of the most sought after interviews. Everybody's calling her.
And you're going to see why in a minute.
Everybody wants to talk, especially now that we have a situation going on with Tammy Collins, Demetrius Flannery, aka Big Meech, and Dion Cuffy Gatlin.
Hey, West Adams.
That is the hottest subject of the land, in part because of what's going on between 50 Cent and Big Meech, and then Rick Ross, and then you throw Lil Meech into the pot as well, and you shake it all up, and you come out with a lot of shit. Miss Bush has a perspective that you can only get from being there, being a part of it. She has an understanding that comes from living it, not just talking about it, not just hearing about it. One of the hottest subjects in the land now is third-party cooperation because.
Did you hear what he said? He said her knowledge does not come from reading about it or talking about it. It comes from her living it. So before anyone decides that they want to get down in the chat and they want to this, that, and the third, and they want to yippity, 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 yoop, guess what? You can't debate somebody who was living the life, who was actually putting in the work, doing this, who had a business doing this. So there's no debating what this woman is saying. So if anybody comes up in here wanting to debate, you can debate all you want to. If anybody on a replay decides they want to try to debate, you can debate by yourself. We're not debating. And here he comes. I was waiting for you. Leave him here. Leave him here. Leave him here. Because he is regurgitating what was said by somebody else. But we're going to listen to somebody who actually ran a business doing this for a living and who actually, never mind, let her tell her story.
In the world of, on the federal criminal justice landscape, we know about a 5K1.
Mm-hmm.
That is when you offer, if you catch a Fed case, and when you offer the government some assistance leading to some an arrest or a conviction or some actionable information prior to getting sentenced, that cooperation is called a 5K1. Post conviction, if you turn around and you give a motherfucker some juicy shit about trying to get a motherfucker booked, right? When you cooperate after. Post sentencing, they call that a Rule 35B. So prior to getting convicted, it's a 5K1. After you get convicted, they give you another opportunity to tell on some shit. That's called a Rule 35B. We know very little about what third-party cooperation is. Some people said there's no such thing as third-party cooperation. The feds don't play games like that.
But that is not true. Third-party cooperation happens all the time. And then there is a thing that can happen that a lot of people do not talk about. What can also happen when it comes down to people yipping and yapping and running their mouths and giving up information is they could even give up information before they even get completely charged and arrested with anything. They're sitting up in the barracks or the bookings or the station. They sitting up there. They slap the cuffs on them, put them in the back of the car. They get them to where they're getting them to. And these mofos go and start telling. Before they get to court, before they can even find out fully what all of their charges are, before they can even find out, fresh after Miranda, sometimes before they even get their Miranda rights read to them, people in there singing. Ain't no rules to that. But I just wanted to throw that out there as well.
The federal government don't do no off the record, clandestine snitch agreement type shit. The feds don't do that.
They do whatever they want to do.
You are lying to the people.
They
don't do no shit like that. It's got to be by the book. It's got to be on the law. If it's not on the federal, if it's not on it, no, you can't do that. You're lying, dog. Miss Colitha Bush has something to say about all of that. Welcome to the show, Miss Bush.
Thank you.
Now, Miss Bush, you got a tan. Where I'm from, it's cold as a motherfucker.
So let me just say this, Philly L, I challenge you to sit and watch this whole video and listen to everything that this young lady has to say. You are free to say what you want to say in this chat as long as you are not being disrespectful. If somebody decides to call you out and somebody decides to go back and forth with you in the chat, ladies, snipers, let them go. I'm not here to convince anybody. I'm here to give you information. And I'm giving you the information because people need to be fully educated on everything. And if somebody is telling you this was their profession, you can't debate what a person's profession was. So Philly L, you are welcome to stay. But I challenge you. I challenge anybody that comes into this video on a replay to watch it all the way to the end.
Why you got a tan right now?
It's Texas. You know, we don't get that much. We don't get that much cold weather like y'all get probably where you're at up in the Midwest. It's basically warm year round out here. So I've been enjoying the little cool cold fronts that we've been having coming in and out for the last 2 weeks, but that's about to end. So
you know, you just brag, don't you? You know, we don't play it. We in Detroit right now. You just brag and just talk about how warm and how nice. We don't
experience it because
who have different experiences with the criminal justice system. You have some people who have said that there's no such thing as third-party cooperation. What say you about people who say there's no such thing about that as that?
Well, I tell you that, I mean, I would basically tell them that they need to look a little farther to the people who've actually been through and experienced it, because I ended up in federal prison because I helped my ex run a third-party cooperation firm here in Texas. And I ended up with an almost 10-year prison sentence because of that. And it's something that's very lucrative. It's something that, I mean, I've had interviews where somebody asked me, well, how many calls were you getting a day? And I can basically tell you at least 200 phone calls.
Did you hear what she said? Her and her husband were running a firm. And it's very lucrative. And they were getting at least 200 phone calls a day. So this is how we starting out.
Every day from facilities around the United States. Some people names that I don't even want to discuss that are like so high up the chain when it comes to being drug lords and people like that want to get out of prison, and they're willing to spend however much amount of money necessary to become free again. So it is absolutely something that happens. The government does it in many different ways. Somebody said, well, why, when somebody does it, their name is going to be in the paperwork? Not necessarily, and not all the time. I guess it's up to the United States government's discretion of how they're going to put that information out there, or if they're going to put that information out there at all. Because my ex, as I spoke to you about this before we started recording, was an informant for the United States government for some time. And he ended up using the information that he got from being an informant to launch this third-party cooperation firm, which landed him a 20-year prison sentence, and me caught in the middle of it, a nearly 10-year sentence as well.
The man took the money that he got from being a snitch and opened up a firm, a business for people to snitch. So he took his snitch money and started a business for snitches. Now, I heard exactly what she said, Philly L. I heard her. You got to pay the money. Tammy was getting paid already. Tammy was getting paid. See, y'all want me to go down this road. I'm going to go down this road. Tammy was getting paid. Agent Cromer was cooking books to get her paid. That's obvious. You don't think signing over parts of you, like your life rights, like your power of attorney, you don't consider that to be payment? That's not an even swap. You understand? Listen, this ain't the type of conversation I'm trying to have on here either. Because let me stop this for a second and let me just say this right now. What we here to review is how third-party cooperations actually work. I don't want to debate with nobody. If you think that Meech is innocent, you think Meech is innocent. If you think Meech third-party cooperated, you think Meech third-party cooperated. I don't have a personal stake in any of this, so I'm not emotionally charged by what other people think. That's why I said y'all can say what y'all want down in the comment section. That's fine. I'm not here to convince nobody. But what I'm here to do is to give information out. That's what I'm going to do. That's it. I'm not here to convince. It's either you thinking this way or you thinking that way. We don't know what, let me tell you this. What we're getting right now is we're getting his side, her side, prosecution side, defense's side. We've got Cuffy's side. We got Tammy, who's not saying nothing. We got Meech, who's not saying something. We even got Blue side. We got all Tonisha's side. We got all these different sides to the story. But the one thing that we will never truly have is the 100% truth from all of it, because we're not privy to that. We can't even make full, if we're going to be honest, we can't even make full analysis on everything. Yes, I know, Philly. We can't even make a full analysis on this, a hypothesis, which is an educated guess, because we don't even have all sides of the story. I can only go off what I see and what I see to be real for me. And I don't see why Cuffy would have a reason to lie. I'm being honest. I don't see why he would want to ruin his 30-year relationship with somebody just to make up a story that's going to make that man look bad. That doesn't, logically, that don't make sense to me. You understand? At the end of the day, you know, I got people telling me stay out of men's business and all of that coming from my neck. Some of them coming from my neck outrightly because I'm a female and they feel like I don't have no place saying anything about this. But let me explain something to you. I have a loved one who went to the feds and was caught up because somebody snitched in his case. So I have a very good understanding about snitches. I see what you're saying, Philly. You bringing up Cuffy burning the connect and all that other stuff. I see where a lot of you want to go with this. But what does that have to do? Let me ask y'all this. What does that have to do with the whole situation that's going on with how a wire got on Cuffy in the first place? See, got to stick to one moving part at a time. Everybody want to focus on how the whole car is moving. You can't focus on the wheel. You can't focus on the bearings. You can't focus on the struts and the shocks and the motor mounts. And you can't focus on all the moving parts at one time. You got to take it one piece at a time. And I'm not listening to nobody. Let me make that very clear. I don't listen to nobody. I think for myself. And then I have conversations with people that I know that literally have been in the situation, that have been caught up in the feds on drug charges with a rat and all of that. I talk to people that I know are credible to help me understand things that I don't understand. And then I go and do my own research. Nobody puts a battery in my back. Nobody tells me what to say. Nobody tells me what to do. What you see is what you get from me authentically. And I'm going to talk on whatever I want to talk on. And I'm going to share my point of view, no matter whether you agree with my point of view or not, because it's called freedom of speech. That's why I said you can say what you want to say down there in the comment section. I don't even care. But if you start annoying my snipers, they're going to put you out of here. If somebody decides they want to jump up on you and go back and forth with you in the comments, that's what they're going to do. I'm not doing it no more. Now let's continue to listen to this young lady break down to us a business. That's what y'all missing out on. Y'all so busy wanting to fight in the comments about Cuffy did this and Cuffy did that. Y'all so busy wanting to tear Cuffy down that y'all missing what's going on right now. She talking about a whole business that was created for snitches to snitch. That's what we're talking about right now. We can have a whole debate. I tell you what I'll do. I'll even open up the panel and all of y'all can come up here and we can all have a meeting of the minds, whether we agree or disagree. I could do that for y'all. But what we finding out right now is that the streets done got even more dangerous out here. It's even more dangerous out here. because of what's going on. What this young lady is about to tell us is going on right under our noses.
Can you tell us, you guys started a third-party cooperation
company, y'all?
Well, he actually had it before I knew anything about it.
Right.
And pulled me in the middle of it.
Okay.
And so being pulled in the middle of it, at first it was just, I need you to answer these phone calls, take the messages, and relay messages. But then as a few years passed, I was actually going out there, actually meeting with people's families who were incarcerated, who wanted to use the service in order to get them Rule 35B motion filed through the court so that they can get their sentence reduced for cooperating with the government. But it wasn't just any kind of give information situation. We actually had informants working for us. Like, he had a lot of friends that he had gotten signed up as informants, and he had some friends that were already informants who knew of other informants who can do the work.
So, I want you to know that this story is a chilling story, and if you see a look of incredulousness on my face, it is not because I'm not understanding what you're saying. It is because it's scary.
It is.
When you as you tell this story, you haven't even gotten to the heart and the meat and potatoes of it. But as you tell this story, it ain't safe outside. That's the only thing I'm thinking.
But nobody, because the same firm that he launched, it was a way that we ended up being caught up with the United States government, because somebody that was very close to him had gotten in some trouble, and the Fed ended up investigating him. And this person walked from this whole situation. It was the closest person to him.
So, Ms. Bush, can you explain to us how third-party cooperation works? So is it that you guys found informants to jump on people's cases? Or, so I heard you say, hey, well, people who are incarcerated, they're looking for a way to get out. So is it that, man, can you just tell me?
So technically, in the rule book of doing third-party cooperation, the government normally will not work with you if it's not somebody that is a informant. And from my understanding, I've never been an informant, but I've talked to multiple informants. I've talked to United States attorneys, and I've talked to attorneys on the behalf of clients that we had. And so informants don't go by names. They have numbers, from what they told me. The government pull their files by the numbers. If they've done work in different states or whatever, and they want to go into another state and do work, they're going to pull this informant's file by number and see if they're credible to do the work in that jurisdiction. If for any reason they're blackballed, which happened to one of our informants, where the government says, no, we're not working with you anymore, we're not doing anything with you, then no, they'll say no. Well, basically, the rule is the person is supposed to be related to you. The government wants the person to be related to you when you're going to do when there's work that's supposed to be done on your behalf. And so in a lot of cases, if the person is not related to you, it has to be an informant. Somebody that's already known, somebody that has done this type of work before.
Did y'all hear what she said? Normally, they would like for the person to be related to you. But if the person is not related to you, they have to be an informant. So check this out. Follow me. I'm spinning. Y'all can put tornadoes down in the chat, but I'm spinning off of the information that we have. So if it's not a person that's related to you, they have to be an informant. When did Tammy become an informant? She became a CI when she went to Jack Harvey in 2008. She did not become a confidential source, a CS, a person that is working for the government, until 2009. Gangland Champ, salute. D Watt 22, salute. I'm spinning based off of the information that we have. So you have to, Spinning. Remember, the tornadoes are in the chat. We spinning right now. So you had to establish yourself as an informant first, because she would not have been related. So, okay, that's one theory. Let's continue to listen, because if they're not going to be, this is what she said, if it's not going to be your relative, it has to be somebody that is an informant. So someone who is sitting in jail right now, sitting in the feds, and they want to get out, if they cannot convince a family member, yo, I'm not spinning no more. Now I'm going off of what she said. What she just said was, someone in the feds right now could be trying to convince a family member to do a third-party cooperation for them, but if they can't get somebody that's related to them, then they got to use an informant.
That's wild.
No, I don't want to be unprofessional, but god damn. So you guys had a company where you were brokers.
QT, a power of attorney gives a person the power of attorney over you. You have to specify what kind of power of attorney it is, but there's still a power of attorney. Nobody should have a power of attorney over you ever, ever, ever. Thank you, Vic, for the super chat.
Rats and snitches, and y'all use the rats and snitches to help people who were at solid up until. So I'm in prison. I'm doing 25 years. I got money in the street. I'm trying to get some time cuts to get myself home faster. I could have hired your firm to get somebody to give me information so I can turn that information over to the federal government.
And a lot of times this is what happened. I've spoken to, like I said, United States attorneys and attorneys before. And sometimes United States, the person has tried to cooperate before, but was denied because it is somebody that the government wants and they don't want to give information on this particular person. And they'll sit in prison for some years and that person is still on the streets, and then they might decide one day that I'm ready to do the work. I mean, I'm ready to give up that information, because there was this case where there was a big time drug lord in another state, and the person that we were hired to do the work on behalf, the attorney said, well, I've tried everything and they're not budging. But when I spoke to the United States attorney, and they said, well, tell him the only way that we will allow for you to send informants down here to do work on his behalf is if he give us the name that he knows that we want and the information. And at this time, this person had been incarcerated for like 10 years. They was more than willing to give up that information. They gave me a name. I contacted the United States attorney back. They said, that's what we want. That's who we want. Yes, send your people up here. And so that's how it works for a lot of people.
We got to go back.
Your firm.
I got to hear that again.
Somebody to give me information so I can turn that information over to the federal government.
And a lot of times this is what happened. I've spoken to, like I said, United States attorneys and attorneys before. And sometimes United States, the person has tried to cooperate before, but was denied because it is somebody that the government wants and they don't want to give information on this particular person. And they'll sit in prison for some years and that person is still on the streets, and then they might decide one day that I'm ready to do the work. I mean, I'm ready to give up that information, because there was this case where there was a big time drug lord in another state, and the person that we were hired to do the work on behalf, the attorney said, well, I've tried everything and they're not budging. But when I spoke to the United States attorney, and they said, well, tell him the only way that we will allow for you to send informants down here to do work on his behalf is if he give us the name that he knows that we want. And
this is diabolical. Taking the current events out of the equation, this is diabolical. This lady said there are people that are sitting there that are willing to cooperate, but the government wants a specific name. They know this person has a connection to that name. And so they will allow you to send an informant down there. I'm not going to allow you to send an informant down there unless he's willing to give up a name. He said a name, and now it's all. Yo, this is Henny Glasses in the chat. If your mind is like, this is really a damn business. This is really a business, y'all. This is whoa.
Information. And at this time, this person had been incarcerated for like 10 years. They was more than willing to give up that information. They gave me a name. I contacted the United States Attorney back. They said, that's what we want. That's who we want. Yes, send your people up here. And so that's how it works for a lot of people. They'll sit in prison for some time and not want to tell on a friend. But then after some time, they'll feel like, okay, well, I'm going to tell on a friend now.
So informants was just sitting around waiting on y'all call, just waiting on the mission.
Oh, they actually out doing work all the time. Like
gathering intel.
Out doing work. As soon as they have a chance where they can make themselves available to do work, then they're more than happy to do the work.
Hey, Miss Bush, did you hear what you just said?
I'm telling you, like, I didn't believe
they don't stop working.
I was like I was like the person that was communicating with these people, like talking to them, and they're telling me these things, and I'm having conversations with them, and I was shocked too at first. I was like, wow. And it's a lot of females that do this type of work because it's easier for females to infiltrate a lot of organizations, especially when it's drug organizations.
Now, I'm gonna tell you this right here. I believe it. I believe it. Not that I thought this young lady was not telling the truth, but I believe it. Because at the end of the day, let me tell you something. The power of the PUSSY, that punanter, has caused wars. Do you hear me? Go in history. The punanter has caused wars. And at the end of the day, you want to infiltrate something, send a female to do it. Send a female to do it. Let me tell you something. You got females that got that sunshine. Remember from Harlem Nights, she said, I got a girl whose punana is like sunshine. Then you got girls who have got natural disaster punana. And the natural disaster punana is the one that comes in and tears your whole life apart. From beginning to end, front to back. The power of the punaner is crazy work. And it is easy to have a female infiltrate. She look good, she smell good, her body right. Send her up in there. Give her a little background. And did you hear what she said? She said they're always working. They're always out there gathering intel. You don't know who is an informant that you're talking to at any point in time. Yes, she got the good power you. Thank you for the super sticker, Vic.
I had all kind of shit to ask you before we start this shit, but I don't So at the height of the firm that you were, he was your husband, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how many informants did you guys have on the rolls?
Thank you for the cash out.
So he had 5 of his friends signed up as informants, and then it was 2 females that he met through a friend that was an informant. And these girls were like butter to the United States government ears once they pulled their names. Like, they wanted these girls coming to do work. And they told me personally themselves that they worked all around the United States. And I ended up being able to communicate with their boss, who was a DEA agent.
Uh-huh.
And so I know in our case, when I was questioned about all this stuff, and I'm basically telling them this, it was just so odd to me. I was like, in a government now place, just so dumb all of a sudden. when they have somebody that they actually really want, they don't care what you're saying. They'll listen, but they basically do not care. If you're not willing to give us some more information, then we don't care what you're saying.
Fellas. She said they had two girls who were like butter to the United States government. And their boss was a DEA agent. What are we talking about? Happy 1 month anniversary to Ace. Yes, we are going to be kicking back up with our members soon. What are we talking about? Child, he brought in 7 people like they was running the flower skin. Listen, do you hear me? Hey, Kalisha girl. Yes, a whole army of snitches. Keep telling Terry about the phone and about her knowledge about all of the business, but he was in love with her good smelling body so much he didn't even care about his own family. Man, if you are in the streets right now doing any type of no good, thank you for the super chat. Yes, the power of the cookie. Yes, respect. Thank you for the super chat. Yo, if you are in them streets doing any type of no good, I suggest you find a way to go legit and go legit now.
So
it's a scary work right here.
I want to ask you some questions about just the operational side of this business.
Okay.
So you guys provided people who were willing to, were you just, the people who you guys employed to so did y'all have?
The look of concern on everybody's face is probably the look that all of y'all have right now. Because y'all know when I go to review stuff, I watch some of it and then I watch the rest with y'all so y'all get my natural reactions to things. Because if it's supposed to be a review reaction video, y'all need my reaction. This is mind-blowing right here.
Have a treasure trove or a treasure chest of information ready to be used that anybody could have used to help their case?
So let me tell you how
was it customized to the person?
So yes, so the way it goes is either they had information and it was people giving up murders and things that you wouldn't even think they would be giving up. They was giving up whatever they wanted out. And so even though you give out this information, people don't understand that the government still has the right to say, no, we weren't able to prove that, or the information wasn't valid, or something in it. You did something that you wasn't supposed to do. So because of that, no, we're not accepting it at this point. It's like all kind of little things that they do, the United States government, when it comes to third-party cooperation. And so, like I told you, I will be in contact with attorneys. I've talked to multiple United States attorneys, and I've talked to DEA agents in the course of doing this work that I was doing with my ex. And so a lot of times the person themselves who are incarcerated have the information and they want to give it. And sometimes you might get people who don't have information. And that's where you would need like these informants to be able to go and do work with the United States
I think my mic cut out. Hold on.
To do. So because of that, no, we're not accepting it at this point. It's like all kind of little things that they do, the United States government, when it comes to third-party cooperation. And so, like I told you, I will be in contact with attorneys. I've talked to multiple United States attorneys, and I've talked to DEA agents in the course of doing this work that I was doing with my ex. And so a lot of times the person themselves who are incarcerated have the information and they want to give it. And sometimes you might get people who don't have information. And that's where you would need like these informants to be able to go and do work with the United States government on whatever cases they may have. But I will basically tell you that nobody is safe. I mean, from just the years that I was involved in it, I could not believe it. I could not believe that people who were top of the tier drug lords were sitting in prisons across this United States. Matter of the United States took them from another country and brought them here or whatever. They wanted out, and they were willing to set up minions and whoever to get out. They might not want to give you like the biggest names, but they want to. It was like a lot that went into it.
So did you have it? Did you guys work for any cartel members?
I wouldn't say cartel members, but people on the other side, it possibly could have been connected, but people on the other side that from not the Mexico side, but from across the waters.
Right.
You know, people from across the waters, Colombians, Cubans, people like that actually really own some shit.
So in the beginning, she has said that there were people that were willing to pay big money to be able to get these informants. See, the thing is, they have to get paid. The informants have to get paid. But y'all, we only 18 minutes into an hour-long interview. And y'all heads blown back already. And we only 18 minutes in.
That the government took and seized and brought them here because they were sending their product into the United States. And so people want out. Like, I mean, I don't care how small you are, how big you are. There are people, it was a whole facility at one time calling, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, nobody has any shame in their game anymore. They'll call and say such and such gonna be calling, their family's gonna be calling. Literally of like 20, 30 people all in one dorm.
You got a dorm full of snitches in
all making phone calls at the same time like it was nothing.
So you what facility was that?
I definitely
The whole car.
Hey, look, this was in Florida. So
in Florida. Shameful work.
Florida, I mean, there's a lot of people in Florida that's trying to tell on people like I never seen before. But I mean, Texas is not excluded, but Florida was like one of those states where you are like, wow, like nobody even cares.
I'm never at a loss for words, ever. I want you to know I'm never at a loss of words. You telling me it was a whole facility. They was
Yeah, like every single person almost is trying to get out of there. So I don't know if the facility was just that bad or people just didn't care anymore and they just said, F this, I want to go home or what it may be. But everybody has some type of information that they can dig up or remember on somebody at some point that they're trying to tell. And people are sitting around here living their lives and don't even know that somebody's trying to write affidavits on them. So I tell people right now, I don't care if you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing and you're doing it with somebody, just be careful, because if you go down and you don't know how, it could have been your friend could have got in some trouble and turned you in, and you see them still walking, but then they come to take you away. It happens all the time.
Yo, I am so glad that when I was out there, y'all got a whole nother breed out here. You know what? This is what I wanted to say earlier when she was talking about the females. Some of these girls is up here on IG and you don't know where she getting her money from. Let me tell you something, fellas. If you don't know where this girl getting her money from and she look good and she driving, fancy cars and wearing labels and red bottoms and all of this stuff, and she looking real, real good, but you don't know where she getting all that real, real good money from to front the lifestyle that she has, meaning she don't own nothing, she don't work nowhere, none of that. You better start thinking that she could be a cooperating informant. a confidential source. This is diabolical. I don't know what to say. Look at everybody quiet on the
These niggas
panel.
hold possums.
No, listen, right? I'm never at a loss for words, right? But see, what you are telling me, what you are exposing in this interview, you're exposing the underbelly of what's really going on in the streets. So what you should be teaching classes in the inner city to young black men and women, because the information
I'll not to get caught up, because I've had people reach out to me and basically tell me, I've listened to your whole story, part 1 to 100 on my series, and they said I walked away from relationship because I was not ready for what happened in your situation to be my situation. And I was like, yeah, sometimes you can listen to somebody else's story, and that could be just that push you need to make you come outside the door, because I was incarcerated with a lot of people from different walks of life. And it was a lot of females sitting in prison doing long prison stints because of a man. And some of these women were in prison, and this man was out there walking around living his life with the next female because he put the drugs on her, one scenario, or he told her to take that case. The other scenario.
Oh, so, baby, you take that case.
Basically, either way it goes, you're not safe. There are men that want to do the crime but don't want to do the time, period.
Oh, it's a bunch of bitch ass niggas. Ain't no bitch ass nigga like a bitch ass nigga. Ain't no bitch ass nigga like a bitch ass nigga. We know that.
I wish I could have learned, early on in my life, but I didn't. It took me a long time to learn that lesson.
Miss Bush, how did you meet your husband initially?
So I talked about it in my series, but I'll go ahead and tell you. So I was friends with one of his relatives through my mom. They used to gamble together. And I was on my way to one of my cousin's house one day, which was down the street from where I lived at.
Thank you for the super sticker.
To his relative house, who was out in the front yard, and we were just talking for a few minutes. And then he just came out the house and started talking to me, asking me for my information, asked me for my phone number. And I was like, well, I just got a home phone. This was way back in 1996. I was 16 years old. And so he was young, fly, to my eye. I was a more sheltered girl, grew up not exposed to this type of stuff. And so I was at all with him. And so everything just pretty much went from there. I didn't know that he was a drug dealer. He told me after we were seeing each other for a while, hey, this is what I do for a living. He showed me a whole bunch of drugs one day, and he told me drugs are bad for you. Don't ever let anybody offer that to you. And that was that. And pretty much some time passed. I was pregnant for him. I had his child, and we ended up living together after that. And the rest of it is a whole book. Gotcha.
I understand. Did people in your family? Did people in your family have any idea what you were doing? What you guys were doing? Did they know that you guys had a company like that?
Nobody in my family knew anything about it at all. And when they found out about it, they was completely shocked. And they didn't find out about it until I was arrested.
Right.
And I was arrested. His family didn't know anything about it either. Everybody was like completely shocked. But the ignorance of the common person who didn't know what third-party cooperation was, they're thinking nothing of this. Like, I can talk about third-party cooperation to my family right now. Some of them would say, like, what is that? And I've been talking about it to you for a long time. Like, how do you forget? But I mean, that's just how it is. When people are not living on that scale, then they don't think about that type of stuff. But I mean, it should be something that is known and, like you say, taught in the books, because it is something that goes on all the time.
So I have a question for you. So the federal government frowned upon the business that your husband created and that you helped him eventually manage, right?
Yes.
So my question to you
is because they said, we don't even pay people to do this type of work. So how they said again, he was a mastermind. He thought that he was smarter than everybody else when he was actually using, I guess, what he learned from working with them. And in my series, I talk about all that stuff, him working with the feds on a 5K1. And the family member that I'm telling you, how I met him is one of the people that he ended up working undercover to get.
Your family member?
No, it was his family member, the one that how I met him when
okay.
Yeah, his family member was like big in the game back then, and actually put him in the game. And so, you know, from there, he started doing his own thing. He got out there big. Everybody knew him. People would tell me that's what he was doing, but he had kind of like told me after a while, hey, this is what you keep asking me what I do for a living. This is what I do for a living. And he basically took me over to his mom's house, opened up a washing machine and dryer, put the garbage sack out and showed me a whole bunch of cookies back then, which I didn't know what that was. He just said cookies. And it was these circular looking things. And he was telling me, hey, this is what I do for a living.
So what were you? What was he charged with when everything came crashing down?
So it was just like collar crime, a money crime.
Oh, so it was like money laundering. Was it? What was it?
Wire fraud.
Wire fraud. So, but there ain't no fraud because y'all giving niggas real shit. It wasn't no fraud in it because y'all. It ain't like you want a rat. We gonna give you something to tell on to help say to get you some time reduction.
So basically, what it came down to on the case was, for number one, you're not supposed to be. They say that you're not supposed to take money to do this type of stuff. And I remember back at that time, he was talking to some other consultants where they had like, you could have did a Google search on this and it would pop up on your Google search. Now I tried to do a Google search on it and it's not popping up on my Google search. Like it was multiple different firms that were specializing in third-party cooperation, not just in the state of Texas, in multiple different states. But now when I do that search, I don't see that there.
When I first became aware of you, I did a search about different companies and firms that engaged in this kind of thing. And all I found was lawyers who had been tried and convicted for the same thing you guys are doing.
Yeah, some were lawyers now. I mean, some of them that he was talking to were lawyers, and the only thing was they were basically saying that they didn't have the informants to do the work.
There were, I think, 4 or 5 lawyers in Florida who got indicted for the same thing, where they were providing informants to jump on people's cases, and they were charging anywhere between $50,000 to $100,000, depending on how juicy or actionable the information was. Did you guys have different prices for different people?
So we charge like a retainer fee to most people. Just the retainer fee was just to look at the case, just to see if, because sometimes there's a clause in your case that says you can have third-party cooperation, because it was also in my case before I was sentenced. Like when they did the PSR report and everything, and I also sit down with the government and did a practice what's called the Queen for a Day. And so that's when you go in and you sit down with your prosecutors, United States government. And so my case wasn't just in Texas. My case was expanded across a few jurisdictions. So I was in a meeting with my very prominent attorney at this time who knew all her shit. And we're sitting there, and there's people that mean business sitting at this big table, which were United States attorneys and assistant United States attorneys. And on the TV screens were the same people from different jurisdictions as far as Texas, Florida, and New York. And I went in as doing a practice which is called a Queen for a Day, which is when you're able to go in and talk to the United States government. And anything that you say that even implicates you and anything cannot be used against you. But I highly believe that's what happened in my case. But long story short, the government, after I talked to them, they're asking me all these questions, and I made it my purpose and my business to go after one person that I knew was the person that was on our case. Give all the information that I could on this person who had threw me under the bus some type of way and was walking around smiling and laughing about it.
They were free or they were locked up too?
I'm talking about he was free, never locked up, should have been in prison. And even my attorney had told me, so I knew it was real when I'm going to Florida to meet with my attorney, and then she slapped some papers in front of me saying, so if you contact, and I don't even have to say the name, you know who it is. If you contact this person in any type of way, if you threaten this person of anything like this, you're going to be getting a new charge of obstruction of justice, and you could face an additional 7 years, I think, imprisonment after you finish serving whatever time they're going to give you. And so I'm looking like, what? Like, how is this even fair? Like, this person is walking around free, acting like they don't know what's going on. The person broke in my house while I was in jail waiting for a bond hearing, tried to rob me, and the government is all for this person because this person is working with them. So nothing that I said in that meeting mattered. They emailed my attorney back so fast and told her, Ms. Bush is so not forthcoming with information that we're gonna move forward with the max amount of sentence that we can get her by law. And at that time, I was looking at 40 years imprisonment. I was looking at 40 years imprisonment from what they were telling me, from the information they had given to my attorney, and I was pissed off because I was like, how does this even happen? But even being on that side, it happened to me. And so eventually I pleaded to one count of wire fraud in Texas and Florida, with New York drafting their case into the Florida case. And by PSR as being a first-time nonviolent offender, I had no criminal history whatsoever. The judge gave me a top of the guideline sentence, which was 96 months, 8 years.
96 months, 8 years. Did you guys ever work hand in hand with any law firms, or was it just like a unique situation within and of itself?
So the snitch snitched on them, and she tried to snitch on the snitch, and the government wasn't having it. You trusted a snitch. Ooh, baby, I got to find where she telling her story at. We got to find out her story. And then she said they didn't even want to hear her information. That damn mosquito bit me. That's what I was swatting, was a damn mosquito. I got to get my screen and my candle to stop them from coming in here to bite me because I'm in the henny shed. But they didn't even care about what she was telling them. And that goes to show you that they say that snitches can't do certain things and not get away with it, but clearly they can. If they're viable to the government will turn their head. She just said this same person tried to break into her house and tried to rob her. And nothing. He out walking around free. Yo, y'all are merciless over here. The rat on rat crime. I'm done.
It was just a unique situation. Like, so my ex was very, very, like, the feds would say how sophisticated he was. They would say how smart he was, how he thought he was smarter than everybody else. And honestly, he did think that he was smarter than everybody else. He was very, very, very smart. And so, you know, he was already doing this stuff. He pulled me in to this situation. And I'm thinking that this is very much so legit, that this is, you know, business that you can have. like never looking into if you can go to prison for anything like this. I never thought about that.
She was trusting
until
her
I
man.
was arrested one day. But I knew that before I was arrested, I knew that something was going to happen. Because as I talk about it in my story, it was times when people were calling me back and saying, well, we talked to the agents and they said they talked to the informants and they came and they never came back. And like, these are people that's paid you hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he had somebody that paid him over $2 million. And so these people are now calling saying somebody like, well, we talked to the agents and the person they came out there, they haven't came back. They're not doing the work. We need them back out there. And so it was so many things going on with these informants, taking money, saying they were going to do work sometimes, not going back to complete work, that everything ended up just crashing down at one time. And he didn't tell me a lot of things, but he sent somebody that he was really, really close to that was an informant that had done work with him before, over to the eastern region of Texas to go and talk to the feds about doing some work on a case that needed to be completed. And that person was told on that day, hey, get out of our office, don't come back. We know what you're doing. We know y'all accepting all these large amounts of money, and basically told him that he was blackballed and he could not do any more work. And so he had, unbeknownst to me, told this to my ex, who had not told me that information.
Were there ever any situations where you guys said, nah, we ain't fucking with that. That might be too convoluted. Were there any situations where they were extreme?
It was some extreme situations. It was situations where people were calling me on the outside on burner phones, telling me, hey, I need you to fly out here and come and meet with me in person, meet me on my yacht so that I can talk to you the way that I want to talk to you and not over the phone. And at the same time, they were setting up large operations, telling me basically, you know, we're going to have this ship come through the water with all of this on there and with the people on it. After y'all do y'all thing, what some people didn't understand, it was like, after we do our thing and that happens, will he be set free immediately? Like, no. Like, it's a lot of stuff that actually goes into this. And some people did not understand that. They thought if it's this big, it's no way that this person is not going to walk out of there, which is absolutely not the case. Like, motions have to be filed. It's so much stuff that goes into that.
Were there any people in law enforcement that you guys are working hand in hand with to kind of like help move y'all cases forward faster?
No,
or y'all had to operate. Y'all had to kind of like.
Person I told you that I was in contact with a lot was a DEA agent who used to work in the eastern region, who had transferred to the Mississippi region, and the girls that were working for us was actually his informants. So I was willing to do whatever it took on that extreme case that this boat is supposed to come through with all these kilos over into the Florida water. He was trying to take that boat and shift it way over here going towards the Mississippi River.
Right.
And was like, I don't know how that's going to possibly work because, you know, agents are greedy for cases. And so he was basically saying like, that's my girls and I want the credit for that.
What's crazy to me is informants do get paid. But for a third-party cooperation, she's saying they don't get paid for that. But if they're an informant, they're already being paid to be an informant. And we already know that they get paid a percentage off of the cases that they bring down. So when she's talking about she got a call for a case with a boatload coming into this place, blah, 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 and I want the credit. His informants are going in and they getting a stipend. Now, I want to know, which it makes sense to me, that these agents are probably getting a percentage off of that as well in the form of a bonus payment when it comes down to taking down these big cases. Because let me explain something to you. If they run up in a spot and they grab all of these kilos and they walk in there and there's I'm just gonna throw a number, $100 million or $2 million in a room. Do you really think that all those millions of dollars go into evidence? No. So when I'm hearing them say that third-party cooperants do not get paid, I'm hearing, this is how I'm deciphering this. Doesn't make it right. It's just my analogy. I would love to sit and talk to her too. When you have an informant who's already being paid by the government doing a third-party cooperation, they're not getting paid for the third-party cooperation. Is that how that goes? But they still getting paid by the government because they're on the government's payroll. Remember, I read y'all the thing where they did an audit of the informants, and the informants were being paid, and they found out they were getting paid even after they had been kind of, what do you say, discharged, or however you word it, off of a case. They were still getting monthly stipends of money. And then we read in Tammy paperwork how she was getting a percentage off of these cases that she was bringing down as a confidential informant and a confidential source. So when a family member steps in to do the third party cooperating and they're not an informant, then maybe those are the people who are not getting paid, because I'm still trying to wrap my head around all the knowledge that I've already taken in looking this stuff up on payment. But from what it's also sounding like, it's like the person who's trying to get out has to be willing to pay something for these third party firm employed rats, snitches. So they got to pay for that service. But like I said, if they already an informant, they're already on government payroll. And they do this for time off their sentences. And people doing this. You heard what this lady said, from state to state across the country. Hey, Hankin, from her, you have her story. Hit me up on IG, same name, Hennessy Reviews. Hit me up on IG. It does kind of sound like a pyramid scheme. I at the Uncle Murder video called Root of All Evil. I'm gonna go look at it. But this is really blowing my mind.
But that actually didn't, that did not happen. Like, that whole situation ended up not happening.
Have you ever heard of the term?
Hold on. Shout out to Real Black Conscious Forum podcast. They said with third-party cooperation, you can't get any financial kickbacks because snitching to get a loved one free is payment enough. You can't get both money and your people. A time cut? Nah. See, that's the thing that has a lot of people tripping right now off of the situation that's going on. And I'm trying my best not to bring that into this conversation. But though that's the information that we were looking at that brought all of our eyes and attention to this right here. I mean, third party cooperating is something that's been going on, but it's just hearing her break this down as a whole business makes you really realize how much the streets don't love nobody, how much loyalty is really just a tattoo for people. This is diabolical work right here. But I'm trying to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Does that just go for the family members? Does this go for the informants that are already there? And the reason why they're doing the third party is for a time cut. They're trying to get off from something.
A cold game.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So let me ask you a question. So the hot topic right now, it is third party cooperation with. Have you studied or have you put your eyes on the situation between Tammy Collins and Big Meech and this whole Cuffy thing.
So I mean, people have asked me questions about it, like just hit me up saying, "Hey, what do you think about it? This and that." And I pretty much heard a guy talking about, that Meech was involved in this stuff, and I seen another YouTube with the first lady, Miss Welch from BMF, kind of speaking about this lady and this cooperation stuff. And her interview was, I want to say, 2 years ago when she was talking about this.
Yeah, Tonisha, yeah.
And so I basically haven't like just looked into it, but just from somebody saying that, my conclusion would be yes, that I think that he most likely probably did, because start looking back in history at a lot of drug lords, and a lot of people call them legends. They were part of snitching.
That's a fact.
Regardless of how you look at it. So I would basically think that, if it's being said that, why else would you be in communication with somebody that's known as a known informant, other than some type of help that you might be acquiring from this person? Because I don't see any other reason that, that situation that relationship should have even just aroused in any kind of way.
Gotcha.
Can I ask something?
Go ahead, have at it, brother.
Listen, it sounds to me, I just want to know, am I hearing you right? When you were saying how y'all was making money, was y'all making money off the people that was ratting? They was also paying y'all for they can rat to get their people out?
Yes, so that's basically how it went.
Man.
Hey, they were paying fees and they were paying like big fees for this type of work.
For them to tell.
Yeah, for them to be able to give this information to you, and for you to be able to get somebody to do the work for them. And it was always told these people, like, this is not 100% guaranteed. Like, there were cases that, yes, it was guaranteed because prosecutors agreed to it, but there were cases where some people's stuff is just so jacked up that nobody even want to talk to them. Like, we don't even want to hear what you got to say. You right where you at, and you belong there.
Man, that was vicious there. These people, they not only go rat on you, they gonna put up money to make shows.
Man,
That's
what?
Wild. I was just making sure I understood it. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, because basically that's how it go, because the United States government was saying, well, we don't pay anybody for this type of work. But I was so confused because I was like, well, I'm talking to these informants and I've talked to their boss, and this is a whole DEA agent telling me that they get paid for this. So somebody is lying.
Boom. And that's what I was just asking. That's what I was just talking about right there. Informants get paid. Confidential sources get paid. So it has to be just family members that don't get paid, because the informants are getting paid. And so now you get an informant to come in and do this work. So the person is paying the informant, and the informant is getting paid from the government. Child.
But like I said, it's really not a book. We can agree on that they go by or whatever. It's pretty much no rules when you're dealing with the United States government, as I personally learned myself.
They do what they want to do.
That's crazy. You hear that, dog face? They was paying to rat. Did you hear that, dog face?
Oh yeah, I heard exactly what you said. So you had multiple. It wasn't just so you guys on your payroll who would go out and acquire knowledge that y'all can then turn around and use to help other people, So y'all did stockpile information to be used later?
Yeah. So, well, basically, they would give the information. The people who wanted the work, they had the information. They would give you the information.
Okay.
So somebody calling you is because they want to tell on somebody.
Cool. So what I was saying.
So the person who wants to get out or wants the time off is giving them the information for the informant to go back and do work. So you got the person who's incarcerated paying a fee to this firm, which of course, you know, the informant is going to get a cut of that. And the informant, if they're using a government informant, is getting paid by the government. That's what I heard. Oh, baby. I am so glad that I am a civilian now. I am so glad that back in the 90s and the 2000s, the 99 and the 2000s, well, then again, I don't even know how long this was going on because she said she met her husband back in 93. So how long has this thing been going on? And then when we looked at the video, remember when I pulled the audit from the government and was reading down the government audits and seeing how much these people were getting paid to tell? Snitches can make up to $80,000 a year. They getting paid a percentage to take a mofo down? Oh, this is the nah, I'm good. I'm good. Y'all good. Salute to Coach Abdullah. Also, if the federal agent is saying that outside of court, he or she can lie. It's called administrative immunity. That's a fact. That is a fact. Thank you for bringing that up.
Any names? Was there ever anybody in the entertainment business who tried to convince who you guys work hand in hand with?
No, nobody in the entertainment business.
No athletes or nothing like that?
No.
It was all street shit.
So basically, it was family members. And a lot of these family members were people that had money, or if they didn't have money, they were going to take out loans and whatever to be able to pay for their family member, which is most likely their son who was incarcerated, telling them that they need to get out of here and that this is the only way I can get out of here is if I work with the government.
Gotcha. So y'all had, so it was family and friends of people who were incarcerated.
Yes.
Who
were fees, or sometimes you had those inmates that actually have the money on their books, and they will write you a check and send it to you. So in the feds, you can do that. You can write a check off of your account and send it.
Gotcha. When did you guys see the walls closing in on y'all, or did it just come out? Did y'all indictment just come out the clear blue sky?
It didn't. Like I told you before, I felt like something was going to end up happening with it because it was people calling on the phone all of a sudden, like, hey, so what's going on with my case? I paid this money. I talked to the agents. They're saying they showed up out there. They haven't come back. It was starting to be like a few phone calls coming in. And of course, you had somebody that had paid a lot of money whose son couldn't get work, and they was like losing their mind calling whoever they could call. And so unbeknownst to me, sometime before I was ever even involved in any of this, my ex was doing this with some of the informants, and somebody went down and said, hey, I gave him all this money and my son can't get help now. And the feds laughed the person out the building and basically told them that, well, that's what you get. Why would you pay somebody money for that? Like, we don't charge people for that type of work.
Yeah, so that's the crazy thing. Hey, you're working on some really, really clandestine shit for the purposes of getting your son or daughter or whoever out of prison. It ain't how you gonna go tell on a motherfucker who trying to hire motherfuckers to tell on motherfuckers to help your son. That's some backward ass dumb shit.
That's nasty work.
So what actually happened later on was even crazier, because that same person that they laughed out 8 years before, all of a sudden, once we were indicted, they threw that case in there too.
Wow.
And so regardless of if I knew anything about some of these cases or not, I was part of that conspiracy. So ultimately, I went down for the whole account of everything too. Like, they don't care when it's a conspiracy. Like, you'll hear people say, well, I don't know this person. I didn't know that person. I don't have any kind of communication with any of these people, but it doesn't matter. It's a conspiracy. So in a conspiracy, it's everybody. If your name is called, if your name is put out there in any kind of way, whether it's true or not, if somebody's saying it or two people saying it, there you go.
Have you written a book about any of this? Do you have a book in
I
plan?
have not written a book about it. I know people ask me about it, but I haven't. Basically, I'm working on my story of, our relationship. And if you look at my series, it's like 100-point series on TikTok and also on YouTube.
On
Where I'm
TikTok and
detailing,
YouTube, we gonna have to go through that.
everything in my life, which is layers of things. Like I can write book after book after book, honestly. But right now I'm trying to stick to my story.
Okay, I got you. So you mentioned your series earlier about where can your series be watched, be listened to? Where can we go find your content?
So you can look me up on TikTok at Colitha Bush 1. It's at Colitha Bush with the number 1. My whole series is there. I have a few series on there right now. And the series that if they want to look at Married to an FBI Informant, that series is 100-part series. I think it takes, if you listen to the whole series, people told me it takes like a whole day. If you just start early in the morning and to the next morning, it's like a whole day. So it took me like 3-4 months to record that whole entire series.
Okay, so is it?
Y'all want to do the series Married to an FBI Informant? We could do that in members. Y'all want to do that in members? Child, she said that's like a marathon. That's like a marathon. Whoo-wee.
It's on TikTok. Is at Colitha Bush 1, the number 1, or the
and also on YouTube. Also here on YouTube, at Colitha Bush 1980.
Okay, and on YouTube. YouTube is Kalisha Bush 80.
Colitha Bush 80, 1980.
1980. All right. Hey, listen, Miss Bush, it was a pleasure and honor. But do you have any plans on starting this up again? Yes, please. No, not this bullshit. So listen, man.
Hell nah.
Nah, hell no. I got you. So
man. This was very insightful and informative, as was the purpose of putting this video out here. This is diabolical work at its most diabolical point. You can't trust nobody, not even family. Because you heard he snitched on his family. Yeah. And he was an informant who brought other informants in on this. Now, before we end, I want to say this. A lot of people have a lot of things to say about a lot of different things. And it's crazy to me because everyone seems to forget that everybody has glorified some type of drug lord snitching. Y'all remember this movie right here? American Gangster? How people flocked to the movie theater to go watch this movie? Jay-Z made a song for the soundtrack to this movie that was like an anthem. But Frank Lucas snitched, and he snitched on his family. Frank Lucas was in witness protection. Okay? It's not unheard of, is basically what I'm getting at. Listening to Colitha tell the story about how all of this played out as a business, and basically her and her husband went down because they were making a profit off of this. They were making a profit off of all of this. And the government was like, how you going to make money off of something that's our thing? They stepped on the government feet. And they were seeing money. But they never would have been found out had that overzealous mother not called the DEA and told them that they paid all of this money and there was no movement on a case. So this was like, I guess you could say, fourth party cooperation. Because when a firm got involved, that's another party that's involved. That's the middleman. Man, listen. Hello. Thank you. Desiree Perez. Hello. Thank you. Listen. Y'all better protect y'all necks, y'all rear ends. It's better for you to do things by yourself with nobody. Because the only way anybody gonna find out is if you self-snitch. That's basically what I got from this. I'm glad that we came from a day and age where this type of play was not something that was, you couldn't do this. Whoo-wee. Well, now y'all go ahead and y'all absorb this replay game, run this up the way that y'all do. I'm going to try to clip this up as best I can. But let all of this information marinate for a second in your psyche. That there are people out here. They could be your neighbor. They could be your coworker. They could even be somebody, if you one of them dudes that's serving, they could be somebody that you out here serving and giving work to. That's actually out here. He ain't flipping them packs you giving him. He running them packs back to the DEA, and the DEA is giving him the money that he's supposed to be giving to you in return for profit. Like, that's how diabolical this is going. That fine ass woman that you seen hopping up out of that beautiful car that smells so good, looks so good, walk past you fellas, could be a DEA agent. They could be somebody that was sent. Ladies, that fine ass dude could be an agent. Child. Shout out and salute to Dogface, Juice, and Boogie, Detroit Gossip, and all of the YouTube streets. This was a good one. Well, y'all, that'll do it for this live. Thank y'all for tapping in and tuning in. Be sure you hit that like button on the way out. Child, I'm about to go inside and go talk to my mama. But I love y'all. Thank y'all for all the continued support, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace, everybody.